going to open with pitches, just like normal. My name is Mickey Gaminal, and this is the ABCI Book Club. Today we are discussing the book Consulting Success by Michael Z. So, yeah, we'll be discussing consulting. So this should be a good book for all of you consultants out there. So we always open with your name and what you do. So my name is Michael Gaminal. I am of Gaminal Tutors. I'm the CEO and founder, and currently I'm doing the ASVAB Domination program. So if you know anybody who's taking the ASVAB, which is the Armed Service exam, so if anybody's taking that and needs some help, let me know. And if anybody's taking that and doesn't need any help, let me know, and I can give them some of the extra stuff that they can use as well. So a lot of resources out there for ASVAB, and I'd be happy to help you with that.
Right. And it is so cool to have somebody to talk to besides your recruiter, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
That knows the inside story.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know if recruiters are big fans of me as a tutor. I mean, they like that their recruits are able to finally get into the military, but they're not stoked about how now they want to be, 68 whiskeys versus 11 Bravos or whatever, when they change their mission, their MOSs. So yeah, if you want to just talk Army or any branch, just reach out to me. We can talk about it.
But it matters a whole lot more to the recruit than it does to the recruiter, what their job is, right?
Exactly, yeah. Recruiters, I mean, nothing but love for recruiters. I've met a lot of really, really good ones. But at the end of the day, their job is just to get you into the military. It's not so focused on the placement. They have the ASVAB test for that. So they don't necessarily think so much about what's going to be, the most beneficial to your career path 10 years from now. And nor should they. I mean, they should be trying to help as many people get into the military as they can, because that's what their job is. So if you want to talk to somebody who's got a little more vested interest in, your longevity and chasing your career goals, private and public sector ideas and stuff like that, definitely reach out to somebody different. Maybe somebody who's been in for a while. That'll help.
Right. Okay. Paula Williams, ABCI. We help aviation companies sell more of their products and services, and a big chunk of that is consulting, whether it's the sales training or whether it's developing marketing programs and things like that. There is a big consulting segment to what we do.
Perfect. Cool.
And, I'm John Williams, and I am the CFO for ABCI. And aside from that, what she said.
Right. And you do a lot of consulting when someone needs something other than marketing, right?
Yeah, I do business consulting. It just happened because I started answering questions for people that didn't want marketing. It just sort of grew out of nothing.
Or weren't ready for marketing yet because they had to get their business in order.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Cool.
Very cool. So which one of you guys is the primary consultants? Do you guys have separate areas then that you focus on?
Yeah, if they need marketing, then I would say I'm probably their primary consultant and project manager. If they need anything else, excuse me, whether it's setting their business up, getting an investor, doing a business plan, whatever, then that would be John.
Yep.
Good.
Cool. Good deal. So we could just talk about the book. Generally speaking, I mean, it's a pretty broad title, right? Consulting Success. So, from what I've read, as far as reviews go and everything like that, it's pretty to the point, right? Like it's very, it covers everything, consulting wise. And I've heard that it's pretty good for like a regular read, but it's also kind of a drag. Is that right?
Yeah, on both counts. Very, very boring. We did this one this year. Last year, we did a different book on consulting, The Guide to Winning Clients by David Fields, or The Consultant's Guide to Winning Clients by David Fields. And I thought that one was better, probably because it has cartoons in it. It was just a lot more entertaining as a book to read. It was not quite as complete, but it was sure a whole lot more enjoyable as a thing to be spending time on outside of work,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. A little more fun to read. So is it pretty dense? It's pretty packed with information, or do they break it down and spoon feed it for the most part?
Well, just as an example, there is a really good list of 10 things clients hate and how to avoid them that I thought was a really good gem that was kind of buried in this slog of a book. Just really quickly, the 10 things that clients hate and how to avoid them. That way you don't have to read the whole book yourself.
Nice.
Right. So one is a generic approach. So, approaching a client and treating him like he's everybody else instead of taking his circumstances into account, so being generic when they're paying you to be specific. 2 is overselling. Everybody hates that. 3, long slide decks, death by PowerPoint. 4, wanting immediate results. 5, not respecting their time. 6, overreaching. 7, surprises. 8, going over their head. 9, making them look bad. And 10, not delivering. And so I think if we applied any of those to what we do or what you do, because you're basically a consultant who works on behalf of the recruit rather than on behalf of the Army, so the recruiter works for the military, you work for the client, but you're a consultant, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And, they all want to be, treated as an individual and specific and everything else and not just told the same thing that you tell everybody, right?
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, it seems like it's really hard to strike that balance, though, right? I mean, if you're trying to scale your business and work with a bunch of different people, doesn't that make it a little more difficult to not be so generic?
Right. I think that's true. You have some proven things that work, but I think it's in the way that you communicate that to the specific person. If you say, look, we've got some things that have worked 7 out of the 7 times that we've tried them. And I think it will work for you because, and here's some specific things about your circumstance that makes you fit into that category, as opposed to just rolling it out on them, and saying, here's what we're going to do because we do this with everybody and it's going to work, So if you can give them some specific reasons why this is also going to work for them, it's just a matter of kind of tailoring the sales of that solution. And you're selling a solution, even if you're like a doctor trying to get somebody to lose weight or whatever, you have to sell the solution to this person and say, this really is important for you, even though this is what I tell everybody that walks into my office, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's fine, but you're approaching it as if all the consulting you do is via this particular media rather than in person.
Not necessarily. I think you could sell it in person to someone and say, you know what, I've visited your business. We walked through your turban shop and we think that we should do a video series because you have got all of this excellent material. We know a video series works really well as a marketing plan. And we know because we just walked through your shop. Here are some things that will work really well for you. You know what I mean?
What do you think, John? What do you think is more like in person? What do you think the big changer would be? The difference would be?
I think you need to go up a level, meaning rather than get specific. It depends on if you're talking with the guys actually doing the work is one thing, but when you're consulting, you need to be selling as high up in the organization as you can. And those guys take a different approach. They don't want the specifics. They've hired you already.
Mm-hmm.
So they expect the specifics to get done.
Nice.
And then it becomes the attitude. And in my case, I don't know how many years I was consulting, maybe 20, whatever. But I learned very quickly that if everything went right on whatever the project was, then you tell those people, and I told them before we got to the finish of the project, if it goes right, you are going to take credit for it. If there's a problem, then you got to lay it on me. Okay, because they are going to live wherever they are when you leave.
They're stuck with these people and you're not. So
Nice.
that's part of the reason they hire consultants in a lot of cases, is so that they have somebody who can take a risk that they're not willing to on their own, and say, you know what, we need to change things from the way that they're going right now. So let's bring somebody in with some fresh thinking or whatever. And then if it doesn't work, we can blame them.
It happens all the time. It's the politically correct way to do things in business.
Yeah. And that's part of the value you bring to the table, because, you don't have to be with them for 20 years. You don't have this is not your only job. So
You can even say and do things they don't like after you've got a track record with them. And if they don't like it and you're getting results, they will naysay you all the way down to writing a check.
Yep. That gosh darn consultant.
Yeah, but somehow or another they made it work.
Right. So we'll just keep paying them and keep griping about them, but we'll keep going with that. So, and that's fine.
I like that. I've never really considered how a consultant, I mean, even in my profession, as much as I try to put ownership on the students that I teach, I'm sure, I'm absolutely positive that a lot of them are like, this tutor is, going to take all the liability,
Yeah.
And especially if like the parents are paying, they can always be like, well, my tutor didn't teach me, which is like absolutely ridiculous to say, right? Like, especially when you have recordings of the videos of me saying, like, do you have any questions? Right? Yeah, no, and I think that's one of the biggest things for consultants, especially if you're taking on that extra liability, is that you need to be covering your ass, because there's going to be a time, if you've been consulting for any amount of time, where someone is going to say you didn't deliver on what you promised.
Right.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to challenge that. You have to be able to show that you did deliver. You in fact did exactly what you said you were going to do, and everything was pretty crystal clear.
And you've got the receipt.
Once you got the client and they're happy with you and you're marching along doing whatever it is you're doing, rather than try to sell them on more, I take a more subtle approach and keep my ears open. And when they say, or they hear a discussion, we need this project over here, and I just catch them over coffee or whatever and say, we can do that. If you want any more information, let me know. And I leave.
Right. I think to your point, Mickey, about blaming the consultant, it's kind of like when I was doing physical therapy, I kind of had this love-hate relationship with the guy that was doing physical therapy with, because he was doing his job and I hated going, because it's painful and it's arduous and it's awful and everything else. And so, he's a great guy. I totally think he's fantastic at what he does, but I was grousing about him all the time. That guy is going to make me do this and do that and do the other thing. And that's just human nature, to have somebody to blame things on, especially if they're unpleasant, is not necessarily a bad thing. And, it's probably the same thing with your tutoring, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think one that becomes really clear, like I just hired a personal trainer and I can't stand the guy, he's a really nice dude, but he's telling me I have to log every single thing that I eat, it's just like everything. What do you think? What do you think I'm doing? I'm just trying to exist, man. I work hard.
You just crap.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is my one indulgence, bro. Like shoot.
Good.
Right. But you can have your indulgence. You just have to tell the guy about it, and then you can blame him, for it being unpleasant. So
that's true. Yeah. Cool. Well, no, I like that. I like the I like the liability. I feel like that's something I definitely overlooked. I never really considered, because the way I always thought, I'm just helping people reach their goals. I'm helping people reach their goals. I
Yeah.
never considered helping people fail. Helping people to not reach their goals, which I guess is what.
They don't fail. They just found another way not to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and they're not failing. I mean, you're not enabling them to fail. You're actually just enabling them to work harder because they have an outlet for that, and so they have somebody to blame it on, even if it is unpleasant. So people will do any number of things as long as they have somebody to blame it on besides themselves. So they'll go through it and they will do the work and they will bitch about it every step of the way, but then they'll do the work and they will get the result and then they will be thrilled that they got where they were supposed to go,
Yeah, and they'll complain and say, well, this will never work, but he said to do it, and I'm supposed to do what he says, so I'll do it.
Right. So
and at the end of the game, and it worked, they say, well, I'll be damned. I never would have thought that would work. Mm-hmm. But you got the end result, everybody's happy.
Right. So you get to help them with what would you call it? It's the whole accountability situation. The reason people hire a personal trainer is for accountability, right? I mean, because he's probably not going to tell you anything you don't already know, because you know quite a bit about physical fitness and what you should be eating and all that other stuff already, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most people who have been alive know what feels good to eat and what feels bad to eat. An hour from now, that cake's not going to be as great as it was when you were eating it. For sure. Well, and I think that, like, when you're talking about, getting them to actually do the things that you're consulting them to do, that I think is one of the major challenges of being a consultant, right? Like, if this is the list of things that your clients hate, generic approach and overselling, slide decks, expecting immediate results. As a consultant, one of the toughest things is convincing someone that they need to do what you say. I mean, that's probably one of the toughest tasks, I think. Does the book have an answer for that, or do you guys have an answer for that?
Well, the book is full of checklists, and I think that's kind of the problem and the solution as well, because I think clients expect you to have a magic wand and you show up with a checklist, and so you have to sell the checklist. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your entire job in sales is consulting, and consulting is sales in my mind, because you have to sell them on every step of the way. We have to do the checklist. We have to do every step, even though you feel like we can just skip to step 5. I can promise you, if we don't do step 1 through 4, something's going to go wrong with this campaign and you're not going to get the results that you want. So we got to start with step 1, and it won't be as bad as you think, but we got to do every step. And, so I think the problem is that there is no magic in the world. The solution is that there is no magic in the world. It's got to be a checklist, right? So, yeah, as a consultant, they like to think you're bringing them in, they're putting money, they're throwing money at a problem and expecting it to be solved, and they still have to do the work. So, you can't, there are things you can do for them, but a lot of things are collaboration. So you still have to get their effort, engage their effort into the process. And that is a sales job, as much as anything else.
You have to make sure you're selling at the right level.
Yeah. And
because if you're down a level too low, then what you're saying isn't going to work anyway.
Mm-hmm. Because the responsibility is here, but the accountability or the authority is here. So, maybe they're responsible for making this happen, but they don't have the authority to be making decisions that you want them to make, right?
Well, and that's why having that checklist would become so valuable, right? Like, if you're telling them that A needs to happen, then hopefully they can go to whoever has that responsibility, whoever has that level of authority, with, a little more intention. Yeah. Which I guess is exactly what you guys were talking about in the beginning with that liability thing. Like, it's kind of a permission to do what you need to do to get things done.
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Right, exactly. And then that also kind of helps you drive okay, well, if you don't have the authority to sign off on this, then let's go to who does. And, we can both sit in the room and present that if we need to, to get the answers that we need to proceed. Otherwise we're in an impasse. So that's kind of takes the onus off their back and says, okay, well, we need to do that. And I'm not bugging my boss. You're bugging my boss. So that's cool.
And when you do an on-site visit, or if you're consulting on-site, back in the day, used to be a secretary that would stop you from seeing the ultimate boss, the VP, the SVP, or the president. Nowadays, it's calendars, right? So, but even today, I would go by the guy's office just like I always did. And if he's on the phone, I'd keep walking. If he wasn't on the phone, I'd stand there outside the office door till he looked up. He said, "Can I help you?" I said, "I would like 60 seconds of your time." And I'd only have one question. And I watched my watch, and about 50 seconds, I'd get up and say, "Well, thank you very much." And they started to walk out the door. If he or she chose to keep me in the office, and that's on their time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got many, many, many half-hour conversations by that approach.
But you kept your promise. It was 60 seconds, or
that's right.
Or it was their choice.
And between the three things I just talked about, I built the revenue stream for the company I was working for on from about 200,000 a year up to 15 million over 2 years.
Jeez.
So I know it works.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a lot of the folks listening to this podcast are probably, using consulting also as a sales tool. And I know you do that in your business, Mickey, and John and I do it in ours as well. We have, free consultations as a step in the sales process, right?
Yeah. I mean, funny enough, I actually just released an ad because I'm getting ready to go full-time starting next month. So
yeah.
I'm looking at alternate streams, so it's not so ASVAB focused. So I did a Facebook ad based off of my location, within 3 to 5 miles of where I'm at. Basically just looking for tutoring gigs. But I am charging for the consultation, which I think is going to work out pretty well. I'm charging $20 for a consultation where I'll just figure out where they're at, what they need, and I think that at the end, like I'm all about free consultations, but especially with tutoring, what I've found is that knowledge is free, right? Like that's one of the toughest things about being a consultant nowadays is that anything that anybody wants to know about anything, true or false, they can find like right away. Whether if it suits their beliefs or doesn't suit their beliefs or is counter to their crazy uncle, like whatever argument you are trying to make right now, you can make it. You can Google it and you can cite a source. So that was one of the things with tutoring is especially for general education, like there's a million ways to teach addition on YouTube, for completely for free. But I think the issue is people want to put a little more skin in the game. I think especially with like a tutoring consultation, you want some to know that you're a level above, that you're not doing the free thing and, hoping that works out and just maybe I'll find another free consultation next week, right? Like that's what you find a lot of times is people who will jump from consultant to consultant in the same arena because they think that, they're gonna find something that works even better. But usually the difference between consultants is really small. There's not that much that sets one consultant apart from another. So they end up, doing commodity consulting, right? So they're looking for the cheapest price. And then and if you're looking for the cheapest price, you can find free every time. Like you can always find free.
Oh yeah. The world is awash in
quality
information.
goes with the price though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, quality comes with the price. And that's the reason students are overwhelmed. It's like, sure, you could sit your kid in front of fraction videos for 6 hours a day for the next 10 days. will they be able to do fractions a little better? Maybe. But more than likely, they're going to hate fractions with every fiber of their being. You know, like, is that the objective? Like, if that's the objective for your lifelong learners, for them to hate everything to do with, you know, research and education, there's a conflict there. There's an issue there. So. Exactly.
So what they're paying for is, number one, somebody who's going to listen to them and say, you know, here's why I don't understand this, and here's what here's the part where I'm having trouble with. I don't want to do the whole hour-long video when, you know, I want to focus on this for 5 minutes and see if I can solve this problem. That's thing number one, is kind of the tailoring. And thing number two is the relationship. So, you know, they feel like this guy gets me and he gets how I learn, and, you know, I can ask him questions and I can spend the same amount of time and learn 5 times as much as I would going through those generic videos, because this is specific to me and what I need and what I want, or what my kid needs and what my kid wants, you know. So besides the fact that, you know, it's just cool to meet with the same person every day and have that interaction and, you know, have that incentive to show you, you know, I figured this out, you know, and I had that light bulb come on, and I want somebody to know that. So that's a cool thing about consulting also, that I think helps, is the long-term relationships.
John, do you have something on that?
Well, no, I was just thinking about, when you mentioned fractions, when I went back a few years, when I was a kid growing up, I didn't get fractions at all. Period. End of subject, next subject. Didn't work. And I really thought that I was never going to be able to learn them. But my mom refused to let that die. And it wouldn't have mattered if I sat in front of a video. It didn't work. She kept at me, taking it apart, showing me different directions, doing this, doing that. And pretty soon a light bulb clicked. And when it did, I said, oh. I mean, and then after that, you know, she made me memorize all possible combinations of numbers up through 10. And then when I did that, then it was 20, and then it was 50, and then it was 100. And then we started working on 1,000. And, you know, square root, and all that stuff, fractions. It became like not a problem. It was like something happened in my brain. But I wouldn't have got that. Wouldn't have happened if I'd been watching YouTube videos. Ain't no way.
Right. Yeah, it's that specific, that everybody learns in a different way. So you know, you can't just park somebody in front of a video and expect them to learn the same way everybody else does.
That's the piece the consultant does, is he digs out which approach to take for any given individual or organization or part of an organization, and then takes that lead and makes it work.
Right. No, I mean, if videos and entertainment could do it all, like, we would all just watch Wolf of Wall Street and then we'd all be done. You know, we would just be like, all right, I'm a millionaire now, you know.
Okay.
And, like, it doesn't work like that, though. Yeah, there's the magic bullet idea. What I really liked when you were talking, Mom, when you were talking earlier about the 10 issues, you said immediate results is one of the things that customers they hate immediate results. Is that what you mean?
Oh, no. They, when the consultant is expecting like an immediate response, you know, so I'm going to give you this checklist, and I expect to have all of these items completed by Wednesday. You know, so I expect everything to be all set up for me when I come in, and you know, and there's a certain amount of that. You can say, you know, look, it's going to be a whole lot more efficient if we can get these things prepared before we get started. But this is the real world, and people do have a real job besides working with me, you know, so I totally get that. And, you know, I don't expect people to drop everything and work on this while we're working together. That's just part of their job. So.
It occurs to me that a consultant also has to know when to be assertive, if not aggressive, versus when to, it's okay, whatever.
Yeah, when to something else is a priority and you know that and you're not going to win.
Well, even beyond that, sometimes, as an example, I was in a group situation where these people were all considered to be a team, and they could not make a decision. But we had to have a decision made by a certain time. So I said, okay, you fail to reach a decision, I will make one. I said, well, you can't do that. I said, really? I just did. Well, but that's not the way this company works. I said, then you go complain.
How to win friends and influence people.
Well, but the point was, what are we going to do? Say that the team failed to make a decision? No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm on the team. That ain't going to happen.
You have to move forward.
Yeah, so I made the decision. We went forward. I never heard a word from anybody.
Right.
That happened on more than one occasion, too, by the way.
Right. And as a consultant, you can do that because, they can always fire you. But, then it's on, that's a decision that they could make. An employee can't do that because, if he gets fired, he's fired like from his job, his primary job. And
exactly.
That's not cool.
They could all complain all the way up to the big boss.
Mm-hmm.
And he would come talk to me and say, why did you do that? And I would explain to him. But that opportunity for that conversation never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and that's the beauty of it. If you're a consultant, you're not like, I'm not saying that I can solve somebody's, every single Army woe in their military career for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
I have a specific purpose. So if you want to reach that goal, you're going to listen to me, right? Like, I'm not going to tell you how to set up your retirement account. I can
Exactly.
I could give you a hint for, the blended, blended retirement program with the Army, or the thrift savings plan, or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, that's the beauty of being a consultant, is you get to be singularly focused, which can lead to that generic approach, right? Like, it can't, like, if you're doing the same thing for every single person, it can make it tough. But I think it's something that most good consultants want to do, is be able to tailor make their material.
Yeah. There's one other thing I wanted to share from the book, and that is the marketing secret of 7. And I think we've all heard this in different formats before, but I like the way that he put it. So of the whole book, and I swear I slogged through the entire thing, and these are the 2 things that were worth the time. This is not my favorite book. This is my least favorite book this year, I'd have to say. But anyway. So I'm just going to read a little bit, so I apologize, but I think this is worth reading. In 90 to 95% of cases, your first marketing communication to a prospective client will result in a no or no new business. In fact, it's been proven that it takes 7 or more contacts to turn a potential client into a paying client. Here's some interesting points of data from consultant and author Grant Hicks. 5 to 10% chance of having a person become a client after 1 contact. 10 to 20% chance of having a person become a contact after 2 contacts. 20 to 30% of having a person become a client after 3 contacts. Most advisors give up after 3 tries. 30 to 40% chance of having a person become a client after 4 contacts. 50 to 70% of chance of having a person become a client after 5 touches. Numbers soar after 5 touches. 70 to 80% chance of having a person become a client after 6 to 7 contacts. In total, 50 to 80% of all new business developed is after the 5th, 6th, and 7th touch or contact. Herein lies the big mistake that most consultants, and I'm going to say, business owners of any kind make. They run one ad, do a text or an email blast, send a brochure in the mail, and expect the phones to start ringing. They don't, and the consultant decides that what they've done isn't working. So they give up and either stop marketing or abandon ship.
And that's not only true from the perspective of digital marketing, but in all the major marketing clients that I worked in my life, that was the same thing. I mean, they would, more than 7, I don't know how many times they actually contacted people.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I interviewed in Salt Lake City for a client twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my bosses to send me somewhere else. And then, so she'd wait till Monday, and then Monday she sent me back out here again.
For a third interview?
Huh?
For a third interview?
Yep. And I met the gentleman I ultimately worked for, and then it all worked.
Right. Well, and I think that's true. I mean, postcards or Facebook ads or anything, people expect one to work, and it almost never does. So, and I
By
know
the
everybody
way,
gets discouraged. Go ahead.
the company, by the way, had sent Mike out here 3 times, my
Yeah.
good buddy Mike, to interview as well.
Jeez.
And it ended up they hired me, and then I said, I'm going to need some help. And they said, yeah, go ahead. So I hired Mike.
So he ended up working with you anyway.
Yeah, but I told him, I said, you've already talked to Mike, so why did you hire him? And they said, we just thought we'd like you better. All right, fine. So, well, I need Mike to help because you've expanded our scope by this much to here. And he said, that's fine. Bring him on.
Not bad.
Yeah. So, just don't stop. And I think like in our course, we teach a top 10 marketing strategy. You make a top 10 list and you go to those top 10 over and over and over again. And the reason for that is because, you can't advertise to thousands of people and keep connecting with them on LinkedIn and sending them messages and sending them emails and picking up the phone and saying happy birthday, or, you can't do that with 100 people, but you can do that with 10 at a time. And then keep going until you get a yes, no, or a not yet. And then, then drop them off the list, add another one. But yeah.
No, I think that's true. I mean, personally, as a marketer, I've been very discouraged, and I think anybody who's got any modicum of success, anybody who's successfully marketed anything has been super discouraged at least once or twice, because you pour your heart and soul into a sales letter or a video or, a graphic ad or something like that. And the reason, I think the tendency for us to think that this one is going to work is because as consumers, I always feel like it's just one thing, right? Like I always feel like if I'm going to, buy new shoes, it's because of one ad they did, or because of, if I'm going to go to this gym, it's because of the one time I saw them. But and that's because I don't think about all of the previous effort that they put in, right? As a consumer, I just think about that one ad, and I'm thinking like, well, my ad's way better than the ad that got me to spend this much money. What's going on here? But at the end of the day, yeah, it's that consistent effort. It's just like studying math or working out. Like it's a grind.
Yeah. Habits matter 1,000 times more than any brilliant execution. You can have the most brilliant ad in the world, but if people only see it once, you're going to get a very low response to that.
And the idea of your 10 most wanted, let me give you an example of what happened. I was laid off in the middle of September one year. Is that right? No, it was middle of August. But from where I was laid off, because of the way circumstances were, I had 6 weeks of pay coming, which meant 3 more paychecks. Well, I put myself in the business of finding a job. And back then there was basically no internet. So I would scour newspapers every day because that's all there was. Classified ads. I get the New York Times. I get papers, the major papers all over the country. I'd spend probably $50 a week on newspapers per day.
Jeez.
I mean, a stack of newspapers. And I'd go through all those things, and I'd call them, and then they'd say they were going to send me this, and I'd say fine, and I'd throw them away. And then I just kept doing it every day. I ended up with 5 requests for interview. I flew to 5 different job offerings and turned down 3 of them. One of them said, "You won't take this job, but it won't be for the money." And true to, because what I did was after I got offers from all of them, I presented to the family and said, "We have to leave. Apologies for that, but we have to go to one of these high places." And then they chose the one they wanted, and I accepted it. But the point is, I didn't stop with any one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept going until I started getting. In fact, I kept going all the way up until I accepted a job, actually, because I didn't know if it was going to work like I wanted to.
Right. And then you, actually, I don't know if it was you or if it was someone else that told me, you're always, always, always looking for a job. You want to keep the recruiters calling, and
that was me.
You're working at a job. Yeah.
I had people calling me wanting to place me in other companies.
Right. And I think
to that end, during my productive part of corporate America,
mm-hmm.
I changed jobs 14 times, about every 2.5 years.
Yeah.
But every time I changed jobs, I got anywhere from a $5,000 to $10,000 annual pay raise.
Mm-hmm.
And I got more responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I got nicer this and nicer that. So it all worked.
Yeah.
So I always had recruiters. I had several that I liked. And I said, you just keep calling
me. Yep. You never say, "I'm happy where I am, let's stop."
That's right.
Yeah. And we've got some clients like, Aviation Trace, like Sherry. She is pretty close to capacity. And she's still marketing because you want to have that waiting list and you want to have that ability to expand beyond where you are. And, there's always going to be some attrition in just because of companies getting bought and sold and crazy things happening in the world that you don't know about. So even if you do a perfect job, there's always stuff happening where you're going to need a new client or you're going to need a new student or a new whatever unexpectedly. So you want to keep that pipeline full, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Far better to have a waiting list than have you waiting on somebody.
Right. Be on the right side of that equation.
Do that. Well, cool. I mean, I think overall, then we got your 2 favorite points out of this long
the entire book. This is not a thin book either. This is well, anyway, not my favorite, but yeah, that's why we're doing the survey. To get people's opinions on books for next year. So hopefully, we'll get some better ones because we'll get people to take a look at that and share their opinions on the book survey.
Hell yeah. Hopefully. I'm wondering do you have, as far as the book survey goes, is it going to be like a really broad selection? Like, could we say Gone with the Wind or something,
I think there's like 25 books on the list and it's on the Survey Gizmo. So, and we're going to pick 12 and people can also nominate other books and I'll add them in as they nominate them. But we've got 25, so we can discard more than half and still have 12 books for the year. So
sick. Cool.
Yeah.
I gotta check the survey. John, have you done the survey yet?
He has not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I just launched it yesterday, so that's cool.
I wasn't trying to put you on blast. I was just wondering what we've seen. What's your honorable mention, Mom? What are you looking forward to most next year?
As far as the books?
Yeah, which title? Is there a title that stands out to you?
I would like to see more, I guess, authors, Seth Godin, and, we almost always include a Dan Kennedy and we almost always include a Covey book. So I'd like to see that kind of continue as themes, because those are always, I think, consistently good selections. But even when we pick a terrible book, there's still some good stuff in there. And I think it's the interaction and the practice of reading, one business book a month that matters more than the particular title. So I'm not going to express a huge attachment to any particular outcome. Whatever the group chooses is fine with me.
So diplomatic. That was pretty good.
Thank you. Well, and we've got smart people, so they made some really good picks and some really bad picks. We have some really good picks too.
Cool. All right, cool. Well, I guess we'll sign out. Does that work for everybody? Anything that anybody wants to add to today's session? All good. All right, cool. So my name is Mickey Gaminal. ASVAB Domination. If you need any help getting into the military or in an MOS, let me know. Gaminal Tutors. Look up Gaminal Tutors on Facebook or Instagram. Instagram is full of testimonials. You can get all that from me.
Absolutely. Paula Williams, ABCI. If you are a client or in any of our classes, please do complete our book club survey so that we will have much better selections on this next year. And if you are not a client or in one of our classes, why the heck not? We have the smartest people in the aviation industry and help them make more sales, so they have more revenue to do more cool things and more research and development and better quality of life for everyone and so on. So why not, right?